Alright, I'm Jade Rowe. I'm joined here with Jim Ackerman, our veteran that I'm going to be interviewing. So, which armed service did you serve in?
Which what?
Which armed service did you serve in
Oh.
the military?
Well, that's kind of a long story, but I was 2.5 months in the Navy, Great Lakes. 200 of us were shipped at that time to Endicott, Rhode Island. And when we got there, then we went back on the trains and went to California, south through Texas and up the coast.
Okay.
And we went to a Marine camp to take combat training. And the war ended at that point, and we still kept right on for another month or two, but and that was it. They shipped us overseas. A few of them went right to Japan, and a few of them went to Guam, and I was one of them that went to Guam, and those that went to Japan ended up over with us in Guam.
Alright. So you served in World War II.
Yeah.
Alright.
Guam hadn't been too long since they'd been liberated. They were doing a lot of work in the cemetery down on the beach, and we could see that. Things weren't plain yet. It was a mess. But we had prisoners of war there, and we worked the prisoners of war. Not all of them, but we would take out 2 to 6, whatever we were doing, and they could work. They weren't very good for working, but they came along. I guess that 9 months in Guam, we slept in tents. We lived in tents. Had a lot of bugs. And it was a good experience. Happily, the war ended, and what we were doing, we went to Rhode Island and then out to the Marines for combat training. And the plans were that if, the invasion was made, we would go into Korea, and there's some emergency air bases for the planes that get in trouble and can't make it way back to base. And we would have been the security for that, for the Seabees. That's what that was for. However, then when we were in Guam, we were back in the Navy, more or less, but we were still classified as Seabees. And when I got my discharge, there wasn't anything said about Seabees. It was all Navy. So, no, kids really wanted to get into the battle. And as you get older and think about it, it's not good. But there were 7 of us. At Christmas time, we joined the Navy, and a week after we graduated in June, we were on our way to the boot camp at Chicago area, the Great Lakes. I guess you might have questions. I'm talking here. And,
You're answering most of them I had planned anyways. So, you said that a lot of kids were itching to get into the fight. Was it always your plan to enter in the military, or did you have an idea before you decided?
No, it wasn't. It was. I think all 7 of us would rather go to the Navy than the Army. We would have been drafted. There's no doubt about that. So, by volunteering and signing up for the Navy 6 months ahead of time, you get out of that. And it ended up, if we would have had an invasion for Japan, it's hard to tell. We were going to lose so many people. It's you don't even like to think about it. That's just something that's in the past. They do. A lot of people say we should have never dropped that A-bomb, but I think that saved my life, maybe. And I think that Japan, the two A-bombs we dropped there, didn't do any more damage and maybe not as much as the fire bombs we dropped out of the bombers. I mean, we just burned several cities down to the ground, nothing but ashes within fire bombs they dropped. We had a big air base there in Guam, and they flew back and forth from Saipan, Kenya, and that's where they took off with the A-bomb.
So, how did your family react to the news when you told them you were going to the military?
Well, I think my mother had 5 brothers in the service, and none of them were killed immediately, but one was in the submarine service. They were hit by a submarine, and that was a tanker. And it just caved his whole side in. 3 torpedoes hit him. And he died at 40 years old, and he just barely lived for that long with that bad. He just crushed his whole body in when he got hit with it. And the other 3, one of them got out a little early because he hurt his back. 3, 4, 5, there's 7 of them boys. But anyway, some families were hit pretty hard. And one of them was in the Army, and he went through the invasion and never got hurt, although he was a sergeant, and he lost all his platoon 3 different times, the whole platoon. And so my mom was the one that really had to worry, because of all them boys in there. One of them was on a, I guess you'd call it a rescue ship or a hospital. And they didn't touch that. And the other one fought all through Africa and Italy, and he never got hurt. He was a half-track man. They were right in the mix of the battle. But as far as my son concerned, me, I didn't have much because I got in too late. All us guys. And we had to clean up what was left there on Guam and tear down a lot of stuff and just sometimes you just do nothing. But like our graves detail, they were really busy all the time. There was a big cemetery right on the beach where when they made that hit there, a lot of them got killed. I've been around plenty of those veterans that have had so much more than me. I don't even count myself, but it was something. I'd say it was a good experience, but not that it was good from the standpoint of the war, but I got to travel to Guam and see a little bit of what the Marines do and so on. So I don't know what else to tell you. I don't have a whole lot.
I just have one more question. When you came home, what was it like when you came home? What did you end up doing when you came
Well,
home?
I was 17 when I went into the Navy. Weighed 180 pounds. And year and a half later, I came home. I had grown 4 more inches, so I was 6'6". My mother said, "Oh my God!" She looked at me, and very glad to get home. And we didn't have any bands that played or anything, but everybody in town recognized it when they saw you. Glad to see you home in a small town, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Gothenburg at the time. And I got to take the trip to Washington. That was a great thing. Really fine. With all those veterans, and there's one veteran there. He was in one of those troop carrier boats. Hickin. Some of them are made in Columbus. He said when they got off their boats, the officers had told them, "Now, I want you to keep running till you get on the beach in a foxhole." Well, this guy's from Eustis over here. And the Germans had them machine guns just lined on that whole beach. All but 9 of them in his boat were killed. He said he don't know why he wasn't, because he just kept running, and that's probably what saved his life. He was running right and fast enough. And like my uncle, he was in all those battles over there in the African campaign. And I asked him, not too long before he died, I said, "How you stayed alive over there in those battles?" She said, "In a way it's kind of funny, but," he said, "if we outnumbered them, we stayed and fought. If they outnumbered us, we ran like hell." I mean, it's funny, but it's a very serious thing. They tried everything. If we get on up to the Korean War, I feel more sorry for them than anybody. It was just terribly cold up there in Korea, and we lost a lot of guys. And then prisoners they took, they'd march them way up to North Korea, and then some of them couldn't make it, and they'd just shoot them, or their fingers and their hands would freeze, and their little gaps would just take the butt of the rifle and knock the fingers would just fall off because they were frozen, you know. And war was hell. And I'm very glad I didn't have to do any of it. I happened to talk to one of those guys, and I was looking at this picture, and there was a 50-gallon barrel, and they had put gasoline in it to keep warm over there. And the 3 guys there standing around that barrel, their eyes were just staring a blank. And this guy that had been a prisoner, he was there for that celebration over there at Oxford, and he started crying. I did too. It's rough. Feel sorry for him. one of the big, a Blake, and this guy that had been a prisoner, he was there for that celebration over there at Oxford, and he started crying. I did too. It's rough. Feel sorry for him. One of the big bunches that we took over, they set a trap for him. We lost a lot of people there. We lost a lot in World War II also. I used to know what the numbers were, but I quit reading that stuff now. Didn't know. I've read all the stories that you can almost read about. Philippines, Alaska, Korea, World War II. I also had from the Army, because my brother was a graduate of West Point Military Academy, and he had access to all the war papers, and he sent me, and I don't know where they're at now either. This was about way back, about 1950. All the battles from World War II that my uncles were in, and just a complete history. It was not that thick paper.
Jeez.
Just a book. He was in. He was a fighter pilot bomber. He flew a bomber, a fighter plane, but they used them as bombers. They would have a fuel tank on one side and an A-bomb on this side. But the A-bombs are so heavy that he flew at a yaw like this. This is a lot of little things you never hear probably. That's what I'm throwing out. I don't know. Bad war. I'm glad I wasn't in it.